Hi everyone, this is AJ and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of my weekly watch roundup. Yes, so this is a series where I sit down and I talk about all those things that I've been watching over the past 7 days, TV and films. So let's dive right into it. Okay, if you're new to the channel, then welcome. If you're a returning viewer, then welcome back to the channel. Hope you've had a fantastic week. Let me know what you've been up to. Why not? So let's talk about those programs and films I've watched over the course of the last 7 days. Now, I'm going to start with TV first, and then I'm going to delve into film. Interesting one actually. But we'll get to it. So anyway, in TV world, what's been happening? Okay, Family Guy was back. I think it was episode 20 of season 20 that I watched. Late season anyway, and two-part story, obviously, like you always get, an A and a B story. In the first part, Peter is considered to be the most unproductive member of the workforce in the brewery, and thus his manager takes him to Atlantic City on a works away trip to try and ensure that the flow of their beer is maintained in Atlantic City and they don't go off and find another supplier of beer as their main drinking source. So Peter takes his mates with him, and it sort of turns out to be a little bit of a sort of hangover riff where the boss goes missing and they've got to find out what's happened to him. But really it's just Peter being left alone to try and solve the issues of work and maintaining that beer supply to Atlantic City. In the second story, Chris falls for this girl who's playing Juliet in the school's production of Romeo and Juliet, and thus he goes for the role of Romeo, only this time Stewie steps up as his sort of coach and mentor and director, so to speak, and yeah, hilarity ensues whichever way you look at it. Family Guy is good. It's not as good as what it used to be. I did actually watch some older episodes on Disney the other day, and I was in stitches. This was from season 4. I jumped in at season 4, the episode where Mel Gibson's in it, or you know, you got the character of Mel Gibson and the Passion of the Christ 2 and all that sort of stuff. North by Northwest riff, very, very funny. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Oh, what can I say about this show? This was episode 4, and this was very much like a sort of Wrath of Khan kind of an episode where there's a battle between these ships and they head into this nebula, and so they haven't got no functions and all this sort of thing, but there's a black hole that's potentially going to be sucking them in. Only the alien race that's hunting them down is the Gorn. If you remember the Gorn from the original Star Trek series, the lizard type individuals that Kirk fights with, yes, they've been reintroduced back into Star Trek, only we don't get to see them because no one has seen a Gorn, primarily because when you see a Gorn you get killed. Yes, and I believe they're being set up to be the big bad of the series. Now, this episode, what can I say? Like I said, with this Star Trek series, it's not like Discovery or Picard, where it's one overarching big story. These are individual stories per episode, like Star Trek used to do, but with a flow through it, a sort of a smaller arc going through, especially character arcs and all this sort of thing. So it's fantastic to get back to that one episode a week set up for Star Trek, and it is really good. We're now 4 for 4, you know, and this was some of the best Star Trek I've seen. Okay, some people say, oh yeah, but you know, we've seen this story before. Come on, Star Trek overall, when you think of the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, the animated series that you've got, Discovery, Picard, you've probably got more than 1,000 episodes of Star Trek, and that's not including the films. So it's going to get a bit derivative, a bit repetitive in its nature, and you know, there's only so many stories you can tell before you start riffing on other stories. There's only so many ideas. Yeah, so I can't fault Star Trek for you know, it reminding you of other episodes and this sort of thing, but it's just fantastic. And Anson Mount is brilliant in the role of Captain Christopher Pike, and the whole crew are turning out to be really, really interesting and good, and I'm loving this series. you know, spot on. And then obviously the big one that we had this week start was Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, was I looking forward to it or wasn't I? Yes, part of me was, because Ewan McGregor returning as this character, fantastic, spot on, but I was a bit worried because Tatooine, yet again, Tatooine is the centre of the universe. Everything revolves around Tatooine, and that part of it is, you know, I'm starting to feel like Anakin Skywalker when it comes towards sand. I understand his issues with it. But luckily, you know, we had 2 episodes drop. I wasn't expecting that because I haven't really read up about, you know, or anything about it. I ignore a lot of press stuff and all this. I just go in and watch it. So 2 episodes dropped, fantastic. Second episode stepped away from Tatooine, which was great. We saw another planet. Even the first episode, it was sort of, you had the Tatooine mirrored with Alderaan, so you had these 2 stories going on and these 2 opposing aesthetics for the show, which worked really well. Ewan McGregor's back on form. It's like he's never been away from the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was spot on. The young Leia, the young girl plays Leia. I thought she was fantastic. She's so full of sass, and that's how Leia should be, because Leia was like that. If you remember scenes in the original Star Trek, original Star Wars, you know, ain't you a little short to be a stormtrooper, walking carpet. Do you know what I mean? All this sort of stuff, and then Empire Strikes Back. So this young Leia, she was fantastic, and I do hope we see more of her in it, and that her story isn't done by the end of this episode, but it may well be. We shall see. But she was sublime. There were some issues. There was a scene that was quite comical where I'm going to sneeze, but I'm going to edit it. So there were issues with a certain scene where young Leia was being chased through the forest by these bounty hunters, almost like they looked incompetent, or the whole thing looked comical. I don't know. It was, you know, yeah. But overall, I was very, very pleased with how this went. I thought it was fantastic. So that's it for TV. Now let's get into the films, and this is where the interest starts. Okay, first up, I watched the movie Below, a World War II submarine ghost story thriller directed by David Twohy, who was the director of the Pitch Black series. Now, I really enjoyed this film. I picked it up on Blu-ray from Spain, as in imported from Amazon Spain. A film that I've been looking for a long, long time on Blu-ray. I loved it when it came out on DVD back in the day in the early 2000s, and I really love this film. It stars Bruce Greenwood, who ironically played Captain Christopher Pike, Star Trek, in the 2 first J.J. Abrams movies. Yes, very, very good. I love this film. I've done a review for it. You can go and check that out. It's within the past week. I just love this movie. Now, in a minute, I'm going to talk about The Northman. But before that, Judge Dredd. Yes, I watched Judge Dredd, Sylvester Stallone. I watched Man-Thing, Marvel's Man-Thing. Let's go back to Dredd. I was rushing through these for a reason. Okay, I watched Judge Dredd. Right, now this film is going to form part of my comic book movies retro review, so I don't want to say too much about it now and here, my thoughts on it again. Obviously I've seen the film and I know the film very well, but that will be coming in the next few weeks. Not only that, Marvel's Man-Thing, I watched that also, based upon the character, the Man-Thing from Marvel. This is a film that was released on the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day, in about 2005. It wasn't a Sci-Fi Channel production. It was meant to originally get a theatrical release, and then it got downgraded to a DVD release, and downgraded to a Sci-Fi Channel original movie release. Yeah, but not originally made for the Sci-Fi Channel. So I'm going to be talking about that in a couple of weeks. That is done. They are both filmed. Not only that, still DC, Shaquille O'Neal. This is a character based upon the character of Steel, which was introduced in the Superman comics and was like a predecessor to Superman. An African-American individual who creates a suit of armour. Again, a very interesting project, and I'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks. Every second Wednesday, you'll have one of them. I did just drop one this week just gone, which was the original 1994 version of the Fantastic Four, the Roger Corman version that didn't get released. You can go and check that out. But yeah, so let's get on to the biggie, the Northman. So yeah, the Northman, the biggest film that I've watched this week. Now, this film was either one of the greatest films I've seen or one of the biggest piles of trash I've seen. And I'm in two minds as to what way to go on it. Yeah, seriously. I know that a lot of people have been praising this film and this sort of thing, like, oh, best thing since sliced bread and all that nonsense. But is it? Is it? Okay. Very simplistic story within. Very, very simplistic. I think, you know, I can't fault the directing of the film. The pacing's a bit off and some of the artistic choices are a bit questionable. I will say that. I don't like the stuff where it sort of delved into the other side of the sort of mythology, the gods and heaven, you know, Valhalla and all this sort of stuff, and the visuals you get from that, because obviously we know that that is all fake anyway. So I think this film is trying to be smarter than what it actually is. I know that's a strange thing to say, but it's just a very simplistic story of revenge. Now, I will say that some of the stuff was signposted to me. I won't spoil what. The end was predictable. I knew exactly how it was going to end from about halfway through. The twist with the mother and what happened there, I could see that coming from the first moment you meet the mother, because something occurs, something you may or may not pick up on when watching it, occurs when you first meet the mother and the young boy when he bursts in on her. Yes, it was predictable in that sense. This film was kind of like, some bits drew me in, some bits let go of me. It gripped me, it let go. It gripped me, it let go. It gripped me, it let go, like that. Did it overstay its welcome? Possibly. Like I said, it's a film I'm in two minds about. I do honestly think that people jump on the bandwagon with this sort of stuff and they think, you know, it's the best thing ever because it's like nothing else that has been released at the moment. So there's a sort of air of originality and freshness to it. But again, I think that the film is trying too hard to be something arty-farty and special and this sort of thing, whereas, you know, on its basis element it is a very simplistic, very, very simplistic storytelling to it. But I can't fault the directing. I can fault some of the aesthetic choices. Yes, I can question some of the camera shots of people and stuff like this. Overall, it comes down to whether the characters are interesting or not. They're not overly interesting. I can't even remember half of them. You know, they don't stick with me or anything like this. Like I said, it's one of those films I need to give another watch at some point and make a decisive decision on whether it's a wonderful piece of cinema or whether it's trying to be clever and is actually a load of crap. There we go. Rather an odd one. I only watched that really because my missus wanted to watch it. Not so much for me. I didn't think the trailer's really done anything for me or this sort of thing, but there you go. So anyway, that's it. That's me done. That's my weekly watch roundup. Done, finished, over with. So let me know if you've seen this stuff, what you think of it. Come and hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because like I said, the reviews for those comic book movies will be coming up over the next 6 weeks. It's every second week basically, and like I said, so this Wednesday coming is a collectible corner video, and then the Wednesday after that is a retro movies comic book review, then a collectible corner, then a retro comic book movie review. So it goes like that. So we're a week and a half away from the next episode of that series. But yes, so join the channel. hit the subscribe button, notification bell to keep apprised of this upcoming content, and most importantly, get involved down below in the comment section. Let me know what you've been watching, what you think of this stuff here, Star Trek, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Dredd, Man-Thing, Northman below, DC Steel if you've seen it. I'm not going to get too much into commenting about those films because it will spoil my reviews and what I think of them and this sort of thing. That's why I just sort of skim over them here. Anyway, this is AJ. I'm getting going. I've done enough talking. I'm off. I'll see you all later. Take care all. Goodbye.